And speaking of Howie Roseman, I think so he made the Jalen Phillips trade.
Great
and
move.
Man,
Great move.
It was a wave of, oh, he did it again. Boy, oh, he's so
great move. Howie season.
Oh, there's so many draft picks. He did it again. Here's the brilliance of it. I can't take it anymore.
I don't like the tone of that.
Well, he is a good general manager. He has won 2 Super Bowls. I am happy that he is a general manager of the Eagles. Let's get that out of the way. Let's call a spade a spade. These trade deadline moves are because they made mistakes in the offseason. Howie has not done a great job this season. They have a good team. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He is responsible for all of that, but he's responsible for all of it. Every single issue on the Eagles right now was something that you could see coming in the offseason, and most of those things are things you could have solved in the offseason. Cornerback, too, could have been solved with Isaiah Rodgers, who was already here and is making $4 million a year. And now we're hoping the ghost of Jair Alexander is going to come here and help, right? We have to spend draft picks on a guy who probably can't play anymore. Maybe he can, hopefully can, whatever. The running game. We had our first good running game of the entire season in the 8th game of the season, and we let Mekhi Becton walk out the door. That was $8 million. That was a problem that could have been solved right there. They lost their pass rush when Josh Sweat walked out the door. I saw the guy had 2 sacks last night, and I know everybody says we can't pay him. Well, he made $19 million, right? But we were all set to pay Zadarius Smith $9 million. And we're fine paying, Brandon Graham $5 for 12 snaps a game. And the most money they spent in the offseason was for Saquon Barkley, God bless him, having the worst season of his entire career. Look, and part of the
8 games.
Yeah, through 8 games. And part of the reason they couldn't pay Josh Sweat, let's not forget this, is that we are paying Bryce Huff to play for the 49ers. We are paying Bryce Huff to play for the 49ers, where he's got 4 sacks, which I believe would lead the Eagles.
Yeah,
which I believe would lead the Eagles. Josh Sweat, 7 sacks, would lead the Eagles. Even Milton Williams, 3.5 sacks, I believe would lead the Eagles. And everybody acts like these compensatory picks are just magic that we get for being so good at what we do. Compensatory picks are when you let a player of value walk out the door and don't replace him with a player of value. That's what happens. So we let players walk out the door, and then at the trade deadline, I give him credit for not, sitting there and making pretend.
Sitting on his hands, yep.
But Howie Roseman has not done a good job this year compared to other years, compared to what he just hasn't. And hopefully these moves work out and the Eagles can still win the Super Bowl. All of that is true. But I promise you, you don't have to act like every Howie Roseman move is some sort of giant stroke of genius. It's not true. We can be critical when he hasn't had a good year or made a good move here and there. And this year is one of those years. It just is.
Well, here's what I'll say to that. I'm not going to tell you every move he's made this offseason has hit, right? And I understand that. And I do think there are some legitimate questionable moves that were made to let players go. I mean, you brought up Isaiah Rodgers. Me personally, I don't think the Josh Sweat, Milton Williams departures, I'll blame as much on Howie. I think they commanded great salaries. They earned them. I don't know how the Eagles were going to be able to fit those guys under their current salary cap structure the way that it is. So I won't necessarily blame them as much for those guys. But Isaiah Rodgers, I think it's fair. That's fair. I mean, for the price that he's in Minnesota for, you certainly could have kept him here. The Mekhi Becton move at the right guard spot for what he got to go to the Chargers, could you not have made that work somehow? When you think about the importance of your offensive line and what they were a year ago, I think that's a fair argument. That's a fair, because those are 2 guys that didn't get ridiculous contracts that you couldn't have given out.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get in this mode where if a player or a GM or a coach is good, then everything they do is good. Or if a player or a GM or a coach is bad, then everything they do is bad. I don't think this year has been some sort of masterclass by Howie Roseman, and we don't need to pretend that it is.
But it just like those can be questioned, I'll say this: give him credit for whether or not those early moves didn't pan out the way they anticipated they would, or guys got injured, give him credit for at least trying to adjust and improve on those decisions. In other words, he's traded for the kid from the Raiders, the Bennett kid.
Jacorian
Bennett. He traded for Jacorian Bennett. The Tank Bigsby trade, I didn't necessarily understand it at the time, considering what I thought about the backfield at that time. But it looks like Tank Bigsby is at least, everybody reported he was traded for kickoff return purposes. That couldn't be the furthest from the truth because he was terrible at kickoff returns.
And it was 2 draft picks.
Yeah, but for a backup running back, it's a solid player to have. I agree. Did you pay a hefty price for it? Yes. 2 draft picks for a backup running back.
When you have Will Shipley on the team, and I just think overall it's been a lot of Band-Aids. It's been a lot of Band-Aids.
But he has to get credit for, or at least some credit for recognizing those could be bad decisions, wrong decisions, and then trying to rectify that. The fact that he doesn't double down on it and say, well, I made these moves, and forces the coaches to go out there and try to make it work, and leaving your team sort of in a difficult position versus, you know what? We're not good here. We're not good there. The second cornerback could be a little bit better. Yeah, pass rush didn't develop the way I thought it would. Nolan Smith got injured. I need to do some other things. Okay, I'm not going to hold on to these future draft picks on pride. As a fan, here's what I care about the most. We have a rare opportunity to win back-to-back championships. We have a rare opportunity to do that. And I've seen other teams, other organizations, when they win a championship, they say, you know what? We won 1, 2 would be a luxury. I'm not going to mortgage the future. I'm not going to do anything that would commit more to this team to try to win another one. We just won 1. As long as we compete, we'll handle the results at the end. No, that's not what he's saying. So as a fan, I can appreciate that because I want to go out and win a Super Bowl this year. I want to go back to back. I want to etch our names in the history of this league even further. We're already there with 2 championships already, but you get in that rarefied air with the Miami Dolphins, and you get the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, and you get the Dallas Cowboys, the 49ers, the Patriots, the Broncos. I think Green Bay may have done it. There's rare teams that have won back-to-back championships. The Eagles get an opportunity to etch themselves in that class of winning back-to-back championships, and they're going for it. So as a fan, I'm good with that. I'm good with him trying to rectify the mistakes. He's acknowledging that they are mistakes that were made, bad decisions that were made. And he's not just sitting there saying pridefully, you know what? No, this was a good move. And you guys got to make it work. No, he's trying to fix it. So I got to give him credit for that.
215-592-9494. Do you think Howie Roseman's done a good job this year? I agree. I give him credit for not doubling down on it. I absolutely give him credit for not doubling down because honestly, when I saw this past offseason, to me, it sounded like an offseason that you are talking about. Mm-hmm. It felt like an offseason like, you know what? We won the Super Bowl last year. We're just going to kind of, we'll see what happens this year. So, but overall, I do not think he's done a good job this year. We'll see what happens with these moves.
Well, you were giving a grade.
Me?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you view what he's done
this
overall?
Year?
Yeah, this year overall.
D plus.
You said D?
What move? What move has he?
A big dose of D.
Well, hold on. If we're talking about this offseason and season, which move was good?
Which move was good?
Okay, I'll give you probably Jahad Campbell.
Also on draft picks?
Yeah, if we're going to say that. But for free agency and trades, I don't know. Azeez Ojulari was the most money they spent on defense.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Josh Uche, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. The Mechie trade obviously didn't work, or he'd still be here. Jacorian Bennett hasn't played. Tank Bigsby was apparently traded for so he could be a kick returner. Couldn't do that. That was 2 draft picks. Saquon Barkley got $40 million for something he did last year.
That was a plus.
Well, I mean,
that's not a minus.
Well, I'll give you even. He was already under contract. I guess
he had to be happily under contract.
And you look at the players that walked out the door, they could have helped us. Isaiah Rodgers could have helped us. Mekhi Becton could have helped us. Josh Sweat. We could hem and haw over the Josh Sweat and Milton Williams money. I understand. But overall, if I'm looking at the good deals and the
and he traded away C.J. G.J.
Yes, he did. Now, maybe he had to do it, so I don't know. We'll see. 215-592-9494.
B+ is strong.
This year?
That's strong. I would go C plus B minus.
Jack?
I go C+.
Okay.
They are 6-2.
Okay, so I'm the only one that's honest.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's fine.